Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. This is the weekend edition where we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today's no exception. We have a great guest, but first, a quick chat about goal setting. Goal setting is one of the most important aspects to achieving anything in life. If you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. I'd like to invite you to join me for 3 days on the Mexican Riviera for an intensive goal setting retreat so that you start your 2020 with energy, purpose, focus, and momentum. The annual goal setting retreat will take place over the first weekend in December. Registration is now open. You can register directly at victorjm.com/events. That's victorjm.com/events. Or send an email to goals@victorjm.com. That's goals@victorjm.com. We are back here on the Weekend Edition. We interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. We've got a great guest all the way from Philadelphia. Welcome to the show, Josh McCallen.
Thank you so much, Victor. It's an honor to be here.
So, Josh, you've got an interesting story. You've gotten into buying distressed properties, but when we talk about distressed properties, people often think about that little house that's kind of run down at the end of the street. You buy distressed hospitality businesses.
That's true. Resorts specifically.
So how did you get into that particular business?
Well, thank you. By the way, thank you guys who are part of the Real Estate Espresso group. I cannot tell you how valuable this network is. I remember getting to know you over the years, buddy, and watching it grow to hundreds and hundreds, maybe even millions of downloads now. It's just a fantastic business you've built here.
Thank you.
We got into resort real estate. We skipped a bunch of steps. We never really did the single family, except for my wife and I did our first little investment when we were 22, and we bought a duplex. So that was like our cute little first real estate investment. Fast forward 12, 15 years later, I get to work for high net worth families, kind of family offices. We do their boutique businesses, and they wanted to flip $5 million beachfront houses. So I became a very detail-oriented project manager of construction, mostly because it was the boom. And anyway, so we got to help because remember during the boom in the Northeast, New Yorkers, Philadelphians, there was no GCs left to hire.
That is true.
So we got to jump into, I think we built $50 million worth of beautiful houses in 3 years. Then the economy stopped. Fast forward. Later, that same family asks, what should we do with one of these speculative things we bought, which was a hotel? They were going to tear it down during the boom to build beautiful townhouses or condos or whatever would have worked, but they got stopped by the economy.
Right.
And that allowed us to do what you do, and that is get creative and make the market. So we debated how to deal with this problem of a 1970s waterfront hotel that was built wrong for modern amenities, 7.5-foot ceiling heights, maybe 8 feet in some areas. I mean, really not luxury.
Wow.
But on the water, so that helps, right? Made out of concrete, in physical good shape, but bad operating shape. So no mechanicals worked. They were all failing. And so we came up with a very robust business plan that ultimately, if you want to think about it the way you think of deals, it basically is we believe we want to buy something so delayed maintenance status that we can spend as much as we did on the acquisition because we bought it wholesale in the renovation restoration. By doing that, we then can deliver what feels like a brand new asset.
Right. Well, in fact, that's so vitally important. A lot of people talk about going from where you are today to some endpoint, and I actually think that's backwards. What you want to do is you want to figure out where's the market demand, and you work backwards from that. Best analogy, I don't know if you play golf. I'm not a big golfer, but I watch golf. Professional golfers don't play from the tee to the green. They play from the green to the tee. So they say, all right, if I want to land at this spot on the green, where do I need to be in the previous shot in the fairway? And they back up.
Yes,
right?
yes. I see your point.
So you start with the end in mind and you work backwards from there.
That actually probably is going to help our golf game. Now, Victor, you are welcome. I know you do business in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We are based, my lovely family of 10 children, believe it or not, Victor. That's what we're kind of famous for.
I heard that, yeah.
The 10th baby's on the way. So we live in the Philadelphia market, but we work currently, we have a resort in New Jersey.
Yes.
A 155-year-old resort. And it has a beautiful golf course. So you are welcome to join us on me anytime, and we'll try to use your strategy of golf because I've never heard
I don't know if you want me to do that. I'm going to rototill your fairways like you've never seen. So,
well, you know what? Oh, you're going to – yeah, see, we actually are not the world's best golfer. And this is something we took from your trainings because I've listened to you many times. I think I've been to about 4 or 5 of your keynotes. And then we had you on our show. Thank you for doing that. And you talk all about buying a business and that has, a robust nature to it. So right now we have a business that has golf courses, the third oldest winery in American history, the beautiful little hotel, and the East Coast's largest wedding venues.
Well, that's the key, right? If I remember the story correctly, you've taken this business that has a bunch of different moving parts to it, but the real driver, the real demand was the wedding business, and in particular, the wedding business within a radius of one of the most expensive markets in the country, specifically New York City.
And I appreciate you remembering that. You and I did you're a fantastic analyst. So back before we acquired this property, you and I chatted about it, and you're very salient. That is exactly why we made the acquisition. We bought it so affordably, just literally to give the numbers away, $5 million on a property that was worth $14 million before the recession. It just got driven into the background. We paid less than what they spent on the golf course, and we got everything. And the bottom line was, it was bank owned when we bought it, and it had almost 795 women went on the website and asked to have their wedding there.
Wow.
Which is inbound, warm, hot leads, not paid for databases.
Organic traffic.
And I said, wait a second, we've built in our previous resorts, which back to the story, we went from 1 to 2 to 3 and became a nationally ranked resort business. What the major game changer in wealth was? Weddings. Because here we were selling fantastic, fancy rooms, and we were doing great. And then we added another revenue stream. And you know what happens when you drop NOI to the bottom line.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden we went from good to lucrative. And it was really because we were able to recapitalize our first company I was part of. So it taught me, wait a second, if you can drive multiple revenue streams into one resort at a robust level, we're going to be able to recapitalize our investors extremely fast.
Well, and that's one of the beauties, because if you're selling hotel rooms, it's a commodity, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter where you're positioned. You could be 3-star, 4-star, maybe 5 stars, not a commodity, but
not a good idea.
But still, it is a commodity. So whereas a wedding venue is not a commodity, because people don't usually do that repeatedly. It's a one-time event, and they're willing to spend a little extra because they want that right experience.
That's a good point. And and God blessed us here, because the world's market right now is into almost destination weddings are the norm now.
Yes.
And we're like this kind of hybrid where we're not more than even an hour and 40 minutes from Manhattan.
Do you know why they're the norm?
Tell me.
Because if you do your wedding locally, you're going to have 300 people there, and your food and beverage budget's going to be through the roof. But if you do a destination wedding, you're going to get your 30 closest friends. It's actually going to cost you less. Yes, you got a bit of travel, but it's going to cost you less because it's a smaller, more intimate thing.
I've never heard anybody say it that succinctly, but you know what? You're good at reading the tea leaves. I think you're right. I would have said it was Instagram. And what do I mean by that? That people want these eclectic venues that are Instagram perfect.
Right.
And so when Melanie and I and the design team got together, we actually built this to be Instagram perfect.
Okay.
Magically 155 years, French style.
Right.
So every angle looks like you could put a poster on the cover of a magazine for weddings. But you're right. I think it's because they can spend more per person.
Yep. Get a better experience. Enjoy it more. They can actually get around and see all the guests. If you have 300 people at your wedding, you're not going to enjoy your wedding. You're going to be spending time making sure that you shake hands with everybody. By 2 a.m, you go, damn, where did it go?
Right.
Whereas a smaller, more intimate destination event can be a much better experience for everybody, especially the bride and groom.
Someday you'll have to visit, because not only did we acquire all those interesting things, we have a very rare privilege. I'm sorry, I'm not going to explain this too much, but I think you're going to love this last part. When buying the Renault name, it's associated with the French family. It may even be associated with the vineyards and the cognac, and so all these different interesting things. I've had lawyers send us letters from intellectual property lawyers saying they want to meet with us. So we may have picked up a few intellectual assets.
Interesting.
But we definitely bought one asset, and that is the grandfathered right to call our bubbly wine champagne, and that's special.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that is a rare thing. This is amazing because what you're doing is you're identifying a particular need in the marketplace where there is white hot demand. New York is a very affluent market. There are not a lot of great wedding venues. You can go out onto Long Island. Go out to the Hamptons.
Compete against the Hamptons.
Right,
yes,
absolutely. And some of the other ones, like there's some venues up in along Long Island Sound and places like that, and Great Neck and places like that are closer into the city. But still, you're uniquely positioned, and you offer an experience that is a little bit. Maybe, again, it's not commodity, whether it's access to other things, maybe horseback riding, other
That's
things
true,
like
actually.
that.
I feel like you've read our website. You're good.
You've got those other things that aren't, if you live in Manhattan, you don't go horseback riding very often. You get to see them in Central Park maybe when the police officer on it, but that's about it. Yeah. So no, I love what you've done. It's brilliant. I can see the success. I can see the passion that you and Melanie bring to the project,
so
and so I wish you all the success with that. And I don't need to wish it for you. You've already got it because you worked for it. So that's awesome.
Thank you, sir. And just if I can add one tidbit, when Melanie and I in the group, because we brought a lot of senior executives with us, and you were talking about that in my show when you were on Capital Hacking, that you have to remember it's not about one person. Right. It's a team sport.
It is.
So we have a robust executive chef that's friends with like the Food Network guys, Robert Irvine in here, best buddies. And we have all these really quality people that followed us because we've been in this for almost a decade now. But just to tell you really the true story, and this is just for your listeners because your show is it's fantastic. I feel like it's an education-based show that, again, it's a shot of what's new in real estate. Real estate investors tend to look for people like you and I that provide deals. And when we began this, after growing 4 of these resorts now, 4 of these repositioned resorts, hitting the 7th bank, my first company I was a junior partner in, we became the 7th ranked resort hotel in America on TripAdvisor, and it's impossible to do because there's 55,000.
Right.
It was a blessing, but we did that twice. So we realized that this was actually our calling, is resorts and hospitality as a training. So what we're really doing is building a pipeline of projects. This resort happens to be maybe the best we've ever could have found because we bought it so distressed and we've turned it into something so lucrative already. But this is model of mom and pop resorts with 1 or 2 major demand drivers that we can leverage. Not just because it's ugly will we buy it.
Right.
In this case, it happened to be resorts. There's going to be other reasons in the future. We're about to, we have an LOI on a ski resort in a very famous town I'll tell you about in a few months when we get it. Not in New Jersey, not in Pennsylvania, not even on the East Coast. So what we did, and this I think is similar to you, we built a management company with those executives for hospitality called Viva May, and then we built a capital company because this is going to require partners.
Absolutely.
And so the management company is uniquely focused on, we call it Viva May, which is stylized French words to mean revive the soul. And we're going to revive physically distressed buildings and the soul of the gift of hospitality we do in the rooms.
I love that. If folks want to get in touch, what's the best way?
We're here on a podcast, so if you don't mind, I think the best way is for them to enjoy another podcast. So Our Capital Hacking podcast, which I always say is like Tim Ferriss's life hacking, but capital style. We say it's when you've realized that you can leverage your human skills, and everybody that listens to you is obviously experienced in their industry and smart. So that's incredible human capital. And we say we've been finding that when you develop that and the mindset, you'll attract the cash capital. So this show is all about getting people to a whole nother level, which I know you and I are symbiotic on.
Absolutely. Definitely kindred spirits. So for the listeners at home, definitely reach out to Josh and Melanie at the Capital Hacking Podcast. Check out the Renault Winery and the resort in New Jersey. And it's a wonderful, wonderful property with some really interesting places and little corners and nooks and crannies in the property. So definitely check that out if you're in the neighborhood. See if you can book a room. And in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.